Welcome to another edition of the Bobcast. We are going to talk about a plethora of sports today, and of course, the big news around campus. The Bobcat Arena is finally open, and Coach Sean Brown got his side of the basketball side of things off to a great start with two last-second victories over Concord and Glenville, respectively. Coach, what were your overall takeaways from the weekend?
Well, I thought that we set out to do ultimately what we wanted to do, and that's get 2 wins this week. Our guys, played really hard. They scrapped all the way down to the end, and they made plays when plays was there to be made and needed to be made. So proud of my guys, and looking forward to getting right back at it this week.
First things first, how nice was it to finally be able to play those true home games?
Man, it was great. The energy was the energy was really good, really high in the gym. Our guys could feed off of that energy, and the crowd participation was excellent. The fans were great. Multiple sports teams came out and showed their support. I mean, it's just a jolt of energy that we've been needing.
And both games very back and forth from bell to bell,
Hmm.
but the Glenville game sticks out to a lot of people after the first time around it didn't go your way back in December. And it helps when on Saturday their most productive player was sidelined, but what was the big change from the first time you guys saw Glenville to the present day?
Well, the first time we played them, we didn't we didn't put a whole lot of pressure on them, and they were really comfortable, and they hit. It seemed as if they hit every shot that they were putting up. Um, I mean, they made 23 pointers against us the first time they played us. But you're right, their best player didn't play this game. Um, in the first game he played us, he really had his way with us. He scored 31 points, 13 rebounds in 24 minutes. I mean, and he just dominated us the first time we played him. But we were also missing players this game also. So we wanted to just get up in their stuff and make them uncomfortable, and really attack them defensively, and kind of take them out of some things that they like to do and chase them off the 3-point line. And I think we did a good job of that.
In conference play, 6-10 in Mountain East Conference play. All six conference wins have been by a combined 16 points, and four of those wins have been won in the final seconds, each by four different players. How important is that for your guys' morale going into the stretch run?
Well, I think that's important to know how to win, learn how to win close games, because guys tend to come together and play loose in those situations, and they've been there before, and they have a mentality that they've been there before and they can pull through. Teams that's used to winning by large margins or blowing teams out never playing those kind of games. They kind of get when they are faced with that adversity, they get tight, and guys are kind of looking around of who's going to make a play or vice versa, where everyone's trying to be the hero and make a play. Um, I think we got a clear understanding of who we want with the ball in our hands. We got as two or three guys. Everyone on our team knows who we want with the ball in their hands, and who's taking the last shot. But we trust everyone um, to take that shot. We just want guys making the proper play, and I think our guys they're pretty comfortable if we get in that situation.
And in those four game winners, the person that had the ball in his hands before either taking a shot or dishing it out for that final shot, Daniel Alexander. Can you kind of talk about that final play that you guys have set up against Concord and Glenville that was so reminiscent to the other two game winning shots?
Well, it's a simple play. It's a high screening roll, and and Daniel has several options off of that. If fortunate enough, um, they were switching it there in the second half, and teams are kind of reluctant to switch on Daniel with a big guy, and so this time he decided to hesitate and pull it out and attack attack the switch, and it worked out. Usually he tries to turn the corner, and he does. He's successful turning the corner, draws the help, and the kick out's there. Um, so he has multiple options on that play, but it's a simple play: high screen and roll, shooter rolling high for potential jump shot, and our post player is posting up in the lane. So it's a simple play. A lot of NBA's players run it as a late game set that most NBA teams run, and some really good college teams run it because it's simple and gets your best players a chance to have the ball making good decisions, and that's what we did.
Speaking of Alexander, he had a pair of double doubles in the 2 game
Yep.
win streak over Concord and Glenville. He's etching his name into the Frostburg record books as well. He, among some of his accolades, eighth in program history in scoring, ninth in field goals made, 10th in blocks, and seventh in steals. This is top 10 in all of Frostburg State history. We've talked about as the season's gone on how he's been able to step up as a leader. How important is his leadership going into these final 6 games?
Well, it's very important. I mean, we go as we're gonna go as far as Daniel takes us. He's really stepped it up as a leader. He stepped it up as the captain of the team, and he's accepted that role on and off the court. Um, Daniel's leadership is going to be paramount. I think I said last week on a Bobcast that Daniel's defense has stepped up a notch and everyone else has followed. We go, our mentality is um, we're going to be tougher than the next team, and as Daniel go, we're going to go. His mentality, is he's hungry, he's a dog, and he stepped it up a notch, and he's expecting everyone else to step it up a notch, and he's demanding everyone step it up, especially on the defensive end, and that's what we need headed into these final 6 game stretch because although we're in eighth place right now, nothing's guaranteed. We have to keep winning. We got to keep on grinding out victories, and if we want to place in this tournament.
And in the Concord game, it was Terry Kenner that hit the game-winning shot with about a second left. He had a pretty tough first half of the season, struggling to find some playing time in a deep rotation. And in his third game back after taking a month off, he hit the three-point shot to down Concord. What's been the difference in him from the beginning of the season to the present day?
Well, Terry was dealing with quite a few issues, and he also had an illness that he had to deal with, being away from the team. So he's just getting back, and he's finally getting healthy and getting putting everything together. Terry's he's a fine player, really good one-on-one player. He's played a ton of basketball in his life. You can tell as soon as he stepped on the court. But he had to he had to put it all together. And there's no one thing that I can put a finger on. There was maybe 4 or 5 or 6 things that kind of was a perfect storm in the first semester. But getting him back and acclimated to the squad, I think we could definitely make a deep push into the tournament. But Terry's a player. I mean, he's hit some big shots for us in his 2-year career here. He's had at least one 30-point game that I can remember. He's I think he's in the record book for 3 pointers made in a game.
Correct.
So Terry, he was mostly full-time starter for us last year, averaged double digits or right around double digits. So Terry's a player. I mean, we know he could play. There was just a ton of things going on personally for him, and as far as him on the court and off the court, and his Division two move, it was just a perfect storm. He had to get his a lot of things back together, and now Terry's ready. He's ready to go. He'll be graduating in May. So we're excited.
Now up to your fifth starting point guard this season with Desmond Renee taking the role this time. I'll ask you the same question I asked last time that we talked on the Bobcast. What has Renee been able to bring to the table since he's assumed a regular starting role?
Well, his confidence has grown. Um, he's been a he was a junior college starter on a really good Baltimore City Community College team. Um, he's played in big games. He's played against top-notch competition. He's played at the highest level, Division One JUCO, and playing on a national stage. So Desmond has played at this level before. He just needs to find his niche here at Frostburg. When you transfer, folks think that it's an easy transition. But it's like being a freshman all over again, a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old freshman all over again. So you got to meet you got new living situations. Um, you got different styles of learning, different teachers, different professors. The academics may be a slight more vigorous here than where he come from. You got to make new friends. It's just a totally new environment. So it's not easy. It's not easy. And then the demands in the athletic field is a lot greater. So it's not an easy transition. And now that he's assumed the starting role and he's kind of embraced it. He's grabbed that point guard spot and he's holding on to it. And I mean, you see the dividends it's paying. We're pushing him every day at practice, and he's growing as a player. He's a pretty good student. He's a very coachable kid. Never complains, and we'll see. He's growing, and he's waited his turn, and he's been a really good addition to Bobcat basketball.
Up next, two teams that on paper are winnable games. Urbana tied for last in the conference, and Notre Dame on the road, whom you've beaten. Now, keep in mind Notre Dame, a much different team at home than they've been. They've been on the road. But what will be the focus going into these next couple of games?
Well, right now we're just looking at Urbana. You know, we, last time our guys we went into that game, we went in there really flat. Now we played on their court. They're not a bad team. They're actually a pretty solid team. They're just kind of young. But they put it to us last time they played us, and I think we went in. We were on a 4-game win streak, and we may have been a little overconfident. But now our guys are going in, and we're going in with a little bit different mindset. Our guys are hungry and they're looking for revenge. And here's another home game, another chance to protect our home court. So we'll see. There's not a whole lot that I could say to get these guys pumped up and get them ready to play. I rest assured they'll be ready to go this game, if not any other game on our schedule. They'll be ready to go this game.
And finally, we're now entering the stretch run to the MEC playoffs. The top 10 teams make it in. You guys are sitting in a tie for 8th place with Notre Dame. So, with that in mind, how crucial will these final 6 games be, and what will it mean to the program to be able to come from a Division III to a Division II and make the conference playoffs in your guys' first year in one of the toughest conferences in Division II?
Well, it'll be it was definitely our goal coming in to get into the tournament. That's our team's biggest goal, to get into the tournament. And then when we get there, obviously we want to make some noise. But that I think that'll be a huge step for our program. As a whole, men's basketball program as a whole. Just move, as you said, just moving into Division II from Division III, and competing at this level with minimal scholarships early. That tells us that we're doing the right thing, and we're teaching the right things, and we're playing pretty good basketball. Obviously there's some things that we have to get better at, especially shooting the basketball and rebounding the basketball. Those are two glaring things that we need to get better at, and we need to improve over the next few years. But this year has been it's been a good one, especially for the first year and us competing in this conference, one of the best conferences in the country. Um, you know, us being at number 8 is it's a blessing, and we want to see how high we can finish and how good we can be. So we're not satisfied with number 8, but our goal coming in the season was to be one of those top 10 teams, and right now we're sitting at number 8, and we're not going to rest on it.
Anything else you want to add?
No, man, I want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to interview with you guys every week, and I thank my assistant coaches, my coaching staff. Those guys do a great job of getting our guys ready on and off the court and getting them prepared for next game. Um, I can't say enough about those my assistants and our administration as always. Thank you for backing me.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Back on the Bobcast, now talking the women's side of basketball with head coach Kerry Saunders, coming off of a 54-51 victory over Concord and losing, but competitively, to the top team in the conference, Glenville State. What were your overall takeaways, Coach, from your first games back in the Bobcat Arena?
Yeah, we had a really great week. This was kind of the week that we were waiting for. And, coming out strong on Thursday against Concord and getting that big win for us was huge. We played well. We had lots of energy. It was nice to be in a familiar place versus on the road. And then again on Saturday, we had a lot of fun on Saturday. I know we lost, but our girls played really well. You take that second quarter out of it, and, we're really in that game. And I think we had them kind of out of their comfort zone the entire game, and that was our plan. And we know that we can play with people, and this is the second time around that we're seeing people, and we're having fun this second time around, especially being at home. So yeah, we had a really great week of basketball, and one of them resulted in a really big win for us.
Yeah, first things first, how nice was it to finally play a true home game at Frostburg?
Oh, it's incredible. We're a completely different team at home. We're much looser. Fans, friends, family, you name it is there. You're not having to get on a bus. We don't have to bring the balls and the equipment and, to go down to Allegheny or Garrett, and, everything's different about it. And it felt incredibly nice. It was a long, long time coming, and, the girls definitely opened up our home opener, strong.
For sure. And speaking of that, the first meeting at Concord, it was an 82-55, 27-point defeat.
Mm-hmm.
And big-time turnaround,
Mm-hmm.
3-point win over that same Concord team and holding them to really some season lows and
Mm-hmm.
some shooting percentages. What was the difference?
Yeah, I mean, the second time around, we're just more comfortable. We know, first time around, we're like, who is Concord? We watch them on film, but you don't really know until you play them. And even some of the decisions that we made as a coaching staff the first time around, it's like, okay, second time around, we're going to do this instead of, whatever we tried the first time. And so that's the biggest thing is they're like, okay, we know that they've got these three scorers and we know what they do, and we know May's left-handed, and we know that like there's things that they remember from that first game. And again, that game down there, we had one bad quarter again. And other than that, it was really competitive. It was competitive at halftime. We came out in the third quarter and didn't play well. So that's what the girls take, and that's what they remember. And they had some fire after that game. It was definitely a chippy game down there, and our girls wanted some revenge. And that's exactly how we're approaching the second time around of all of these teams is like we're reflecting back on what we did the first time, and then being able to improve. We want to improve the second time we play everybody, and that's our goal. We're obviously trying to win, but we're also trying to improve the familiarity of all of these teams. So that's that 27-point loss on the road down there, it didn't feel like a 27-point loss to us. We felt like we were in it the entire time.
And looking at specifically the defense, the big one was in the first half held Concord to a season low 16 points, including
Mhm.
seven first quarter points.
Mhm.
What was the key defensively to be able to slow down that very sizable Concord
Mhm.
lineup?
Yeah, we worked extremely hard in practice the previous day in scout, and our girls were really checked into what we were trying to do within our scout, and we executed it, and we executed it for 4 quarters. We didn't, lapse. We didn't fall apart. The beginning of the third quarter, they came out on a pretty big run, and I called a timeout, and we checked right back in. And that was exactly what we needed in that moment because I knew that they were going to make a run. And yeah, it was just absolutely paying attention to the scout and executing that scout perfectly. We rotated a few people through May, and Amanda does an incredible job against Fitz, the big one inside, and Sydney as well, when Amanda had some blows. So yeah, we just did a really, really great job of just executing and being checked into that.
Speaking of Amanda Emery, she isn't really known for her 3-point shooting, but she's good to hit at least one or two per game.
Mhm.
Against Concord, she knocked down 4 of 6.
Mhm.
What was that part of the game plan
Mhm.
for her to take those 3-point shots, and if so, why is that?
Yes, it 100% was part of the game plan. Fitz, who guards her or guards another one of our bigs, doesn't come out of the paint. So in the scout, it was post players be ready to shoot and don't hesitate, and especially if you're knocking them down. And then, so yeah, that was completely part of the game plan. The bigs for me, if you play within the program, you've got to be able to shoot from the outside. That's one of the big things that I preach to them is you can't just stand out there and no one guards you and you be nervous on the 3-point line. You've got to confidently take that shot. And so she did. She hit a few, and then they tried to put a guard on her, and then we took that guard down low and posted Amanda up. And that's what we talked about in timeouts is like they keep trying to counter with Amanda on who to put on her, and we're just going to counter right back because she can shoot or she can take a guard and post her up. So, um, yeah, she lit it up. It was a huge part of our victory is her hitting those 4 threes because they're so consumed on digs. And it left her. I mean, all of them were just wide open threes that she was able to take. So yeah, that was definitely a part of the game plan, and she hit them. So it's always good when you hit big threes like that.
And fast forwarding to Glenville, on the stat sheet, it'll show up as a 24-point loss. But
Mhm.
like you mentioned about Concord, on the road, it didn't feel like that. It didn't
Mhm.
feel like a 20-plus point loss.
Mhm.
Specifically because of the fourth quarter, there was
Mhm.
lots of times you guys were able to compete with Glenville, especially when you started out on that 15-0 run.
Mhm.
And despite being thin on numbers, only 8 players dressed
Mhm.
against Glenville. What led to the scoring spurt?
I think it's just our looseness. We played so loose that game. The practice before Glenville, it was lighthearted. It was funny because of how our first game was. We just kind of almost turned it into a joke. Like, hey, we faced Glenville the first time. They crushed us. Like, you can't deny it. Like, in practice, I made a rule. Like, if they press us and you turn the ball over going back to their rim and they score and make a layup, like, that's what we don't want. We want, like, if you get stuck, just throw it long. Like, we're going to try and beat them long and beat them with our speed. And that's exactly what we did. In the very, very first play to break that press, we went long, and I think we missed the layup. Diggs got fouled, and it was a no call, but it set the tone of the game. And all of a sudden, Glenville started talking, and they're like, watch long, which then relieved the press a little bit, and we had a much easier time breaking that press. And so, yeah, that fourth quarter, everything was just lighthearted about that game. I would ask them like, hey, what kind of adjustments? What do you see? We played zone. I said, do you feel the pace of the zone slowing down? And so the girls were just really responsive. Even in the locker room after the game, they were like, we had a ton of fun. And that's what it's all about. You've got to have fun when you're playing a team that's going to throw, 15, 12 kids at you and you've got 8. Like you've got to approach it from a manner of we're just going to go out there and we're going to give it our best, but if we give our best, we can play with them. And that's exactly what happened. If you just take out that third or that second quarter where we, lost, they started hitting a ton of threes and we just kind of lost momentum there in a little bit. in the pace that they score, it was it became a big deficit. But um, yeah, we played free, loose. It was a lot of fun.
And you mentioned the looseness of practice before
Mhm.
Glenville State. Obviously, for the rest of MEC play,
Mhm.
may not find a team that will score as frequently as
Mhm.
Glenville. But do you think that that lightheartedness will continue in practice in order for the girls to play looser, therefore leading to some of these scoring runs?
Yeah, I mean, with our numbers being down, hopefully we'll get one or two of them back this week. But we've got to practice is about going in, doing what we need to do to get ready for the games. With 8 kids, I can't run them into the ground every single day in practice. But some of them are going to be hard and short. Some of them are going to be based upon shooting. But when it comes to scout, we always get serious. But I always say a good practice is a practice where you can laugh, be serious and laugh. I think that relieves the pressure. Obviously, there's practices where that doesn't happen, but yeah, we're just trying to do our best to finish out this season, and I think our girls are pretty confident playing at home, and that's what I want for them. I want the seniors to have a great end of their senior year. I want everybody else to have a great end of our first year as D2, and just really gain some momentum for going into the postseason. But we've definitely got unfinished business here coming up in these next few weeks that we're setting our sights on, and we're gonna try and get as many wins as we can out of these last few games.
Two of those players that you mentioned that were unavailable last week, Sierra Thomas missed both games, and on Saturday, Ariana Briggs Hall was a little bit banged up.
Hmm.
Any timetable on their returns?
Yeah, we're going through some protocol today with both of them, but it's basically just a waiting game. We're hoping maybe we can get a few minutes from them on Wednesday. They're not going to both be 100%, but at this point of the year, we're just going to try and get them back and see what they can give us, through the week. But we're hoping to see them both in a uniform on Wednesday if everything goes well.
Looking at another individual, Victoria Diggs, she's been one of the key players on and off the court as expected, but this game against Glenville, it was her first 20-plus point game of the season.
Hmm.
So how nice was it to get a performance like the one that she had?
Yeah, I mean, she's such an incredible scorer, and people do a really good job of shutting her down because she is one of our leading scorers, and she's got to do so much. But what she's done for us this year is incredible. I say it almost every week on this Bobcast that she does all the little things. She guards a lot of the time. The quickest player on their team. She's scoring for us. She's running the list goes on and on, but yeah, it's surprising that it's her first 20-point game, but I feel like every game is a 20-point game for her just because of the things that she does. But yeah, it's nice for her to get into that 20 point scoring column for sure.
Up next, two teams that, of course, you guys have faced, but it's a tough test. Urbana has probably the best 1-2 punch in the conference.
Hmm.
And then on Saturday, Notre Dame, who's turned a lot of heads, currently sits in third in the Mountain East. What will be the focus this week?
Yeah, I mean the focus first is Wednesday, preparing a scout, executing the scout. Yeah, they've got two tough players, but we played them really tough down there until the end as well. So we're taking that momentum, we're adjusting a few things, and we're gonna play our best. And then on Saturday as well, we're unfortunately back on the road, but we're hoping to gain some momentum here and bring the momentum with us on the road. And again, we played Notre Dame extremely well at Allegheny when they came down here. So just building off of that, building off of how we performed last time, and seeing if we can do a little bit better, and hopefully we can come out with two big wins this week.
Finally, we're now entering the stretch run to the MEC playoffs.
Mhm.
The top 10 teams make it in. Frostburg sitting at 11th and
Mhm.
2 games behind West Liberty and Davis Nelkins, who
Mhm.
are tied for ninth, technically speaking, in the MEC, but still 2 games behind that cutoff line.
Mhm.
With 6 games left, what can be done to put yourselves in position to make the playoffs in your first year in Division Two?
Yeah, we've obviously got to win some games here coming down the stretch. You know, Winning out would obviously be great, and that's our goal. Our goal is to win every single game. But there's definitely some other things that have to happen. We can't have some of these teams that are sitting in eighth, ninth, 10th upset anybody who's higher than them. We've got to take care of business, but we're also playing a lot of those teams. After this week, everybody left on our schedule for the most part is in the bottom half. So we've also got to beat those teams and take care of business, especially at home. That's what I'm looking to. If we can defend our home floor, I think there's still a chance for us to sneak into playoffs at the very end. And so that's what we're going for. But we've got to take one game at a time. We can't look ahead, because if we don't win the next one, then odds continue to slip. So we're just going to take it one day at a time and one game at a time.
Anything else you want to add?
No, go Bobcats.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back on the Bobcast and the swimming conference championships coming up this weekend. Talking with head coach Brian Christensen. And, Coach, this will be strictly a preview for the MEC championships, MEC and GMAC championships. What are your overall expectations?
You say strictly preview because I'm going to go off the rails and start rambling about stick to the script, Coach Christensen. Never. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited for champs. It's going to be I think a really good meet. We are practicing really well. It's been a while since I was this confident and focused on believing that we can really succeed and have some good swims.
Why is that?
I think our attitude has been really good. I think it can be tough. There's a fine line between nervousness and excitement. I think we're more on that exciting kind of side of the coin, which is good. I think that pressure can get to kids sometimes. It can be scary. There's always that that fine line to tread. You want to be a little nervous, you want to be have a little edge, you want to be excited, but it's got to be positive. And I think this year has been very, very positive. There's not a ton of worry. There's more of that that excited edge, which is really cool. It's a good vibe. We've had good practices.
And throughout the season, we've had a number of individuals set some records, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But who on both the men and women's side have stood out to you, and you expect to have a strong showing in MEC and GMAC championships?
There's a lot. I think on the women's side, people in practice that have been doing well. I think Megan Hendershot has had just a great attitude the entire year. She really came in knowing she wanted to do better, and I think that that's happening well. Maya Wilson's been crushing in practice the other day. Raina Sison, another freshman, has been doing really well. I feel like I should just name everybody. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think those couple in particular have really wowed in practice lately. I think Aubrey Morris works incredibly hard. I'm really excited for Haley Benedictus and Elizabeth Myers, who are both kind of had rejoined us after Elizabeth had started abroad in the fall. Haley's come back from an injury. Really excited to see how they can do. Their times are some of the only non-taper times. They didn't have any meets to swim. So I'm excited for them to pop off and really look good. On the men's side, there's a lot of people look really fast. Anthony, we've kind of talked about a lot, but he's definitely put in the work. Miles Henderson, Sawyer Conklin doing the distance thing. I've just really impressed, hitting times in practice the last couple days. Brady Peterson, I think, is ready to go. He's a workhorse. Jacob Tantala, transfer, who is just has done a fantastic job. I think he's so far beyond where he was in September. It's really exciting to see. And then a lot of our freshmen, Quincy Page, James Harmon, these kids are going to turn some heads. And I know I left out a ton because I would talk about all, the entire team if we had time, because there's no one who is a red flag. But those are definitely people off the top of my head that I think have really wowed in practice.
How do you think that in your guys' first year in Division II, how do you think that the swimmers collectively have responded to the challenge?
I think that we've done a good job. It's kind of again, it's that balance where I think in the back of our minds we know that we're not really a team quite yet of like scholarship athletes. We're facing a lot of teams that are, but I think it's almost like we have that hasn't slowed us down that much. I think it helps that I might characterize the Mountain East as a little bit weaker than the Capital Athletic Conference. We don't have a Mary Washington. That's just Mary Washington Swimming has won the conference for like the past 25 years. But we don't have a dominating team like that. I would be surprised if the conference winner last year repeats this year, which is always kind of a fun thing when there's a little bit of parity in the conference like that. I think that's given us, even though the teams I think are better than us right now, um, and there's a knowledge that these teams aren't unbeatable. We're not like um, it doesn't feel like the Capital felt where I think we felt like we would never be able to surpass some of these teams. But there's a little bit of an edge in the Mountain East, which is exciting. I think it's fueling us pretty well.
Do you think that parity has led to some of the swimmers be able to swim better, or like collectively, or kind of compete loosely?
Well, it's certainly more encouraging when we're not getting like blown out every meet. There's more people kind of um, both at our level individually, which was kind of what the Capital was. And we had a lot of people who would match up well with um, these teams on an individual basis, but we might have one kid who can match up against six kids from York or Mary Wash, and it's a little bit more one-to-one here, which is I think encouraging. Even though our record doesn't really reflect that, because I think we do have some work to do because these teams are better, but it's a difference between losing a meet by maybe 10, 20 points without any exhibition versus getting really rocked, which I think is an exciting thing.
And how important were those record-setting performances in the meet with Notre Dame for morale going into the MEC championships, set by Giuseppetti in a couple of events alongside three others in the 800-meter free relay?
Yeah, and those folks, Sawyer, Brady, and Luke Russell, we can name them here. Um, I think it's good. It's good to feel like we're swimming fast. It's good to know that like what we're doing is working, and it's good to know, to have that confidence boost that like yes, we can do this. Yes, we are good. We are on a good path.
And with such a vast pool, no pun intended, of teams taking part this weekend between the MEC and the GMAC conferences, how can you assess this first year in the conference championships for future seasons to come?
Yeah, I mean, we always do that. We always are analyzing everything. We analyze what it took to make, top 8, top 16, top 24. Top 24 will make it back in this conference. Um, and we analyze, how the Mountain East does. We're kind of parsing out those people. It's a weird zone to be in with the double conference because it's kind of like everything is scored all together, but then a Mountain East champion is kind of like picked out from that. So you could be getting fifth place overall, and the GMAG is quite a bit stronger than the Mountain East. So kind of pick that Mountain East champion, even though they might be getting like fifth or sixth place in the event. So it's kind of a weird zone to be in. I've kind of told our kids that obviously we're there to compete with everybody, but we definitely want to beat Mountain East teams a little bit more and to not kind of freak out if we get, we might be getting 20th, 21st in something, but that's just fine because that literally could be like 10th place amongst Mountain East teams. So it's a weird attitude to kind of have, but we just got to race. I say kids, it's the same water. Nothing's changing. Just kind of race hard. It doesn't matter who you're facing. We got to try.
Anything else you want to add?
Um, it's really fun, exciting time. it should be a good time for everybody. And the most important thing is that we have fun and are supporting each other. And I think we'll do great.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Quick shout out to Sarah and Missy as always. I love them off listening where they are, but it's been a great opportunity to chat here on the Bobcast, and it is and always will be a good day to be a Bobcat. Go Bobcats.
Welcome back to the Bobcast, and now we're sitting down with head coach Jeff Splinter of the tennis team. And, Coach, the men's team participated in the Charleston invite. What were your overall takeaways from the first meet of the 2020 side of the schedule?
Yeah, it was really exciting to get out there and play some meaningful tennis in February. We got to see our top two kind of competitors in the conference with Charleston and West Virginia Wesleyan, and then also competed against West Virginia State and Bluefield College. So it was a great opportunity for the guys to kind of see what we're going to be going up against for the season, and really showed a lot of great things. A lot of the players were really gung-ho. We started with doubles on Friday and played three sets versus the other schools, and then on Saturday came out and played singles. Really impressed with the drive. You know, we had a 4.5 hour drive, a little snowy conditions, so we got out of the bus. We had a 2-hour practice down there, and right from the jump you could tell we were focused and ready to go. And really appreciated, you know, we had a 2-hour sit down, just played some ping pong, and we're relaxing, getting ready, keeping our minds fresh. And once we started doubles, really great showing from all the guys, a lot of competitive matches. And Christian and Toheeb came out with a big W in doubles and really started us out with a nice energetic surge. And then, singles Saturday, we kept that momentum. A lot of our guys were tired. A lot of the guys who were playing were tired. A lot of tennis over that 2-day period. So coming out and trying to, you know, bring the energy, bring the noise, and come in and, you know, supporting each other. We had a great fan base out there with, you know, 5 or 6 parents, which was great to see. You know, really kind of energized our players, and, you know, playing indoors, meaningful tennis was a lot of fun this weekend.
Who stood out to you from this past invite?
Yeah, I think there are 3 players. A lot of our players, you know, you could really say a lot about how they competed on a point-by-point basis, never giving up. Really impressed in that standpoint. But Christian and Toheeb really stood out, doubles pairing. They really attacked the net. They were really listening to what we were preaching in practice, and, you know, able to put balls away and be a force to be reckoned with. So that was really impressive. And singles-wise on Saturday, really impressed with you know, our first-year player Mason, who put up a really good fight against a really good West Virginia Wesleyan player, and took him to 2 really competitive sets. And then we had Ryan come out with a big win in singles. I just thought, you know, that was the match of the tournament. He showed a lot of grit. Yeah, he was down in both sets before he came back and won. And really impressive stuff from all the guys, but especially Ryan kind of coming out and you know, providing a big win for us to finish.
Looking ahead to the rest of the 2020 schedule, we're about a quarter way of through of the official 1920 schedule, with the men 0-2 in the first 2 meets of the season, and the women's tennis team also got a big victory back in the fall against Cal U, 1-3 in the first 4 meets. What are your overall expectations for the spring side of the year?
Yeah, I expect us to come out and compete every match. You know, we're not looking for wins and losses. We're just looking to get out there and really bring everything we have, play our best tennis every day of the year. So, you know, we expect to play our best tennis when it comes time for the conference tournament. And, you know, we're just going to take each match as it comes, and we're going to play the best way we can. We know we're not going to have everything for every match, but we are going to really, you know, put into use what we're doing in practice and bring that into the match and stay focused. You know, we're not looking ahead to matches that we think we can win or lose. We're staying in the moment and preparing like each match is the match that matters. So that's all we can ask from every one of our players. But yeah, really excited to get the women started this next weekend, and see what they're bringing because they're showing a lot of great things in practice.
Speaking of, from both the men's and women's side, who do you expect to kind of take the reins as the leaders this year?
Yeah, so definitely our captains, Tim Goldring and Allison Paul, have shown a lot of leadership and are are making helping the team kind of prepare the best way that they can. Um, yeah, I think women's side just really looking to see a lot of contributions from everyone in the lineup. We have 10 players this semester, and I think a lot of them are going to be making a difference in the lineup on a day-by-day basis. And we have a lot of great depth where if one person doesn't have it that day, we'll definitely have someone that can come in and provide that spark.
Who on the schedule sticks out to you from both the men's and women's sides?
Yeah, right now for us, it's we're looking at West Liberty for the women. That they stick out right now. We're just staying focused. So the men are going to they have a couple of days off here, and trying to rest and recover from the weekend, and then we'll kind of get into our matches in early March when we play. I think Hood and Mount Aloysius. So yeah, we're just staying focused on the next opponent. We're not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves. Yeah, big conference match for the women this coming week with West Liberty. So
As it has been the theme this year with not just the tennis teams, but in all of Frostburg athletics. First year in Division Two. You mentioned the expectation is to compete with just in general, and what do you expect from around the conference, and how do you think you guys will stack up to the competition?
yeah, we're looking to battle. We're going to go in, we're going to grind out every point. We're going to make our opponents hit extra shots. That's one thing we've really been focusing on in practice is just getting to the ball and make them hit another shot. Some people in tennis they tend to give up when they think they hit a winner, or they think the point's over, and we want to go above that expectation. So really extending the point, trying to attack when we can, and just play some solid competitive tennis where we're all supporting one another. Um, but yeah, we're looking forward to a nice competitive season, based on kind of the levels of where everyone's at. Seeing from this past weekend, I think we have a good shot against a lot of the schools in conference, and it's just going out there and not settling for some tougher matches. We're not settling for a 6-1, 6-0, 6-2. Like we want to compete. We want to get to a tiebreaker. We want to get those 7-5 sets. Really make it tough on our opponents to beat us.
Anything else you want to add?
Oh, appreciate the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Coach.
Go Bobcat.
Back on the Bobcast, concluding this week's episode with track and field, talking with head coach Shane Brookshire. And Coach took part in the VMI Winter Relays. What were your overall takeaways?
Well, once again, it was another big meet for us. I mean, we walked away with numerous PRs. One potential school record from Nick Richardson, and a huge performance by our 4x400 meter relay on the men's side with the fastest time since 2014-15. So, I mean, this team never ceases to surprise us when we're at these meets. Like we've had every single meet, we've always walked away with great results, and so VMI was an amazing facility to go to, and just like we were hoping and expecting, like we walked away with some of our best performances on the whole year.
For those listening that weren't aware, the team posted 9 top 10 efforts, 11 personal records, and after another successful meet for you guys, what's next?
Well, I'm going to be taking our mid-distance runners and a couple of our sprinters to the Kent State this weekend, to where we're going to be running at the Doug Raymond National Qualifier. I mean, the whole year, our distance runners, I mean, they've been running on 200-meter tracks and like bank tracks, and I mean that's not ideal for distance. And even though they've been putting in some great times, like we're going to get on this track that's 292 meters, which is very similar to what our indoor conference meet is with the 300 at Marshall. And so they'll get the opportunity to really showcase what they can do. And so I'm excited to take the mid-distance runners up there and we're also going to be taking a couple sprinters, Clay Washington and Nick Richardson, and to see how they can run a 400 on a much faster track surface. And I said it's another big meet, taking a very small squad to it, but this will definitely set us up well for the indoor championships.
In the midst of all of these top 10 efforts and those PRs from a lot of your athletes, who stood out to you?
Nick Richardson stood out to us the most. Like he's been dealing with a hamstring issue for most of the year. Like we've tried to scale him back a little bit and just really work on mobility, and like try not to over race him at all. And so we put him in the 60 this weekend, and he ran that 6.98. Official time was 6.971, so they rounded up to 6.98, and then he backed it up with a 6.99, like in the semifinals, and I mean it was an absolute stellar performance by him. And like then we put him in the 4x4, and like we ran our first A team, and he split 49 in the 400, and so I mean we're excited about having him on the team. Like he can definitely go far with his career here at Frostburg, and he's doing all this as a freshman.
How promising is it to have someone like Richardson, who, like you mentioned, a first year, doing so well in the sprinting events?
It's extremely promising because this is going to help elevate our program to the next level as we compete within the Division II ranks. Like having Nick Richardson come in and do what he does, um, so it kind of puts our sprint program on the map within the conference. And my whole goal coming in here as a head coach was to build up all of our event areas. And like with Clay Washington, like being our leader on the sprint side, and Nick right there in his wings, it's it's going to set us up great for the future. So we're hoping to put together some 4x4s that are going to potentially break school records within the next couple years. And I feel that Nick Richardson can not only break the record in the 60-meter dash, which we believe he did, but also potentially in that 400-meter for indoor and outdoor. Might not happen this year, but I mean he's going to put an assault on the record books.
We talked a ton throughout the year about the men's half of track and field and cross country and all of that stuff, but a pair of first years on the women's side really impressed. Michaela Westry and Alexa Bradburn. They impressed in the shot put. Can you talk about their progression and what they've meant for the women's side of track and field?
Yeah, so Michaela and Alexa, they've done an excellent job, and a lot of credit goes to John Kearns, our senior athlete, with helping them with their technique and form at practices. But they've come in, and I mean they've done well at these meets. Like Michaela's closing in on the school record for the weight throw, and Alexa's got everything she needs to also be closing in on that record too. So just a couple of technique things to work on, but they're a couple of top throwers in the conference on the women's side. And I know when we get to outdoor and they start working more with hammer, they're going to do well in there. And these are just this is their first year here. They've got a long career ahead of them, and I think that they as well could be putting their own names on the school record list not too long from now.
Up next, you mentioned the Doug Raymond National Qualifier at Kent State. You're taking the sprinters with you in a very small group before the MEC Indoor Championships. With that in mind, this is kind of a two-part question. What's the expectation from the sprinters, and how is the rest of the team not going to Kent State preparing for MEC Indoor Championships?
So with the rest of the team, this weekend is going to be a down weekend for them to kind of rest up, take care of their bodies, recover from the long season that they've had, and set them up to just go into conference healthy. Now with the two sprinters with Clay and Nick, I mean, this is an opportunity for them to improve on their marks in the 400. Now, Nick hasn't ran an open 4 yet, so we know he's ranked pretty high in the 60 in the conference, but we want to see if he can do the same thing in the 400 and then decide which direction we're going to go at conference, because he'll either run the 60 dash or he'll run the 400. It's kind of impossible to do both since both events are back to back. Yeah, with Clay, it's kind of the same thing. Like, if he improves on his 400 and can score better there, then we might go that route. Or if we keep him in the 60 and we go that route. So this is going to get them used to also running on a track that's almost 300 meters. And that's the mindset for the mid-distance runners as well, is that they've never ran on a track this large before and for conference. And so this meet at Kent State will kind of get them used to the different structure of the track, like, which definitely affects the race performance, because on a 200 track and a 400 track, you have your spots that you pick for your racing. And on a 300 track, it's a little bit different. And so they're going to get an idea of it, but it also should produce some faster times, because distance runners don't like bank turns and small tracks. Like, we need something a little bit larger to help maintain our speed. And so hopefully we're going to get several distance runners into the fast heat for the 800. And if we can get 3 to 5 guys like in that 800, then that's a big opportunity for us to score points at the indoor championships.
Anything else you want to add?
Just like very proud of this team. Like, we've had great success like over this course of the season. Like, they've done extremely well. Like, so a lot of them are newcomers, and they've adapted well. Like, they're performing well at a high level, higher than kind of what we anticipated. And I think we're going to show the Mountain East like what we can do like in 2 weeks.
All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.